U.S. Surgeon General recently said he wants to put warning labels on alcoholic beverages. Dr. Vivek Murthy said there is conclusive evidence of cancer risk from alcohol consumption and that the public needs to be aware of it. We're joined live now by Dr. Branden Turner. He's a family medicine physician at Kaiser Permanente Baldwin Hills Crenshaw. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. I think a lot of us saw this, and it's one of those things that it's very alarming when you see the headline. Can you actually dive a little deeper and explain maybe the link between drinking alcohol and the risk of developing cancer that was found here?
First, I would say breathe, right? I want to
Yeah.
make sure that no one
Thank you.
is going completely crazy with this information. I don't think it is news to any of us that alcohol does not have harmful effects. For a lot of people to use it for enjoyment, for relaxation, but we do know that there are some risk and benefits with it. There was a study a few years ago that showed that there was maybe some cardiovascular benefit from drinking red wine. But like again, alcohol, especially high amounts of alcohol, can affect your liver, can affect your kidney. We knew that already. And now we're getting to the point where we know that sometimes the breakdown of those organs, which causes cells to regenerate, can lead to an increased risk of cancer.
Well, that's when I actually looked at the numbers here. It was something like, if 11 out of 100 women are going to be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime, someone who drinks alcohol, it goes to 13 out of 100. That is an increase, but it's not as alarming maybe as some people would think. Are you concerned at all, though, that people won't take the warning as seriously when they see the numbers?
And I think it's a balance, and I know a lot of this leads to please go talk to a medical professional to understand your individual risk.
Right.
Is 13 higher than 11? Yes. Is 13 higher than 11 to the point that you should change any and everything that you do? Probably not. I think you would take this information and know that maybe I should drink in moderation. Maybe I should not go on that binger every single weekend. But I want us to be able to take those numbers in context. Does it increase your risk of cancer? Yes. Is it an overwhelming increase? Not necessarily. Let's make sure we're looking at our whole health profile before we jump to that conclusion.
So I do want to talk about, too, because this was a conversation that I had with some friends over the weekend. I have a friend who said, look, my grandmother lived to be 95. She drank whiskey every single day of her life. Are there some biological implications here that people need to be aware of? And as you indicated, should people just go to their doctor to figure out their individual risk and what's right for them?
Yeah, without question, we're all not health equal. So there is some individualism in the way that these things start to affect people. I know there are people who smoke cigarettes every day of their lives and don't get lung cancer, but that doesn't mean that smoking is not a risk for lung cancer. And I think the same thing would go with alcohol. Making sure you're overall healthy increases the odds of you knowing how you're feeling, and things like this aren't as impactful. But with that being said, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that alcohol is harmful. We just need to make sure that we're doing it in moderation and, with a little bit of thought of what the end game could be.
Yeah, I feel like mindfulness just around drinking, like you said, maybe it's something you like to have, you like to overindulge on Sunday watching football. Maybe you just have 2 beers instead of 10 on Sunday when you do that. However, the new findings did show that the cancer risk could start to develop with 1 or fewer drinks per day. Is this in some ways, is the Surgeon General trying to have a warning just to have people to stop drinking altogether?
I don't know if the thought is to have people completely stop drinking, but I do think it is a great idea to have people process what some of these things can mean long term. I think there's a balance between a lot of the things that we do are harmful, but we still choose to do it. But as long as we are doing it thoughtfully and with moderation and understanding your personal health profile, I think we will be okay. And how I started, I think we can just breathe and make sure we're having clear conversations with our primary care physician.
Well, we appreciate that. I'm going to breathe myself. Dr. Turner, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.